Thanks everybody for hopping on for our webinar, How to Go All In on Cybersecurity. We know a lot of people have meetings, they're back to back. We're gonna give just a couple of minutes here for everybody to join before we actually get started with our group here. So have some patience just for a moment. Okay, thanks everybody for joining our webinar, How to Go All In on Cybersecurity. I'm Chris Clymer. I head up our CISO practice here at Inversion 6, where I've been for nearly the last 10 years now. I'll be the moderator today. We're going to be talking a lot about what we're very excited about, kind of a comprehensive take on cybersecurity. We've built a lot of different practices here at Inversion 6, been able to grow into a lot of different areas, and the team is experienced running pretty broad programs, and we're excited about how we've been able to really bring a lot of that to our customers and solve not just a couple of problems, but hopefully many. So we'll be talking about that more. And as we get into that, right, the challenges that maybe lead people to go down that path, whether it's difficulty finding good cybersecurity talent, difficulty finding the right tools, trying to meet a budget target, that's always a challenge for all of us. We're pretty excited to talk more about this. And then of course, we've got, in addition to the team here from Inversion 6, we've got a real live customer who's been dealing with this firsthand, and we'll be able to share a lot of stuff from that side about what it's like to actually be on the customer side, and especially outside of IT, what it's like dealing with some of the ways this stuff works. So I've kind of covered who I am. Jason, if you maybe want to head off from there, we'll do intros across the panel.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Jason Middall with Inversion 6. I've been with Inversion 6, I think 5 years now, part of our CISO practice. And kind of been doing a lot and working with some of our customers around this entire security comprehensive type program that we've put together.
Chris?
Yeah, Chris, thanks. Chris Pruitt. I've been in IT and IT security for about 25 years, mostly in the large enterprise space, Fortune 500, Fortune 1000. One of my last stops, I was a chief information security officer of a Fortune 500 commercial insurer out of New York City. Been with the organization now for about 3 years as the CTO, helping to identify new products, new partners for our customers, as well as build new services.
Thanks, Chris. And Rich.
All right, thanks, Chris. My name is Rich Cochran, and I'm the CFO for Polymer Solutions Group, or PSG. I've been with PSG since April of 2020, and started my career at E&Y in the audit and consulting practice, and then most of my time since then has been in the chemical industry in various finance roles, but have been a CFO now for the last 2 companies, and have also had responsibility for IT in both of those companies.
Okay, thank you, Rich. So before I dive into our discussion, a few kind of housekeeping notes I want to be sure I put out there for everybody as you're participating. So we want to keep this interactive, so feel free to use the chat box here in the webinar to submit any questions. As those questions come in, we'll do best to respond to those questions. We may not get to every single one. If we don't get to anything live, we'll follow up with you afterwards and try to address any questions we're not able to get to. After we get through the content here today, there will also be a survey that you guys all see to provide any feedback, suggestions, future webinars, and then of course our wonderful marketing and sales teams will follow up with you with more content and things we may think may be helpful to you on this front, assuming you're interested in learning a little bit more about comprehensive cybersecurity. So with that, we've got everybody's backgrounds. We've talked a little bit about this idea of comprehensive security, but I'm realizing maybe we should speak a little bit more to what that is and why people would do it. Jason, maybe I'll start with you. Maybe give your version of what's a comprehensive cybersecurity approach, and why might somebody want to pursue that?
This is a program we've put together because we've kind of seen this in the market kind of out there. I'm going to give a great example too. We have within in version 6, 3, I'm going to call it pillars. There we have our traditional advisory services / CISO practice, which myself and Chris are part of. We also have our SOC that monitors, any of our customers 24/7, 365. And we also have some technologies that we resell. This is a great way, I'll call it, maybe pull them all together, at the end of the day. And I also forgot one other piece there too that's I think maybe a little unique, is we have some of our analysts that really know these and help tie everything together. I'll use a very simple example to kind of start with. Pen testing. We have our SOC that can run a great pen test for any of our customers that are out there, and hey, out of that pen test, you get a nice big report. Normally it's like 30, 40, 50 pages long. You normally want, so great, if you work with anybody else, you get that nice report, but what do you do with it at the end of the day? You need some senior security, advisor to take a look at that and help prioritize and run a program to get those fixed, kind of for you, help you put that program together, prioritize it, measure it, take metrics against it, all of that. So again, we're hitting our SOC pillar can run it for you. CISO can help you, put a program together to address and fix. And then sometimes you need that third piece, to the puzzle of, hey, great, you're telling me what to do. That's wonderful, but I need help doing it too. So that third piece also we kind of bring in as part of this so-called comprehensive program there that kind of ties everything together to kind of help you identify risks, prioritize risks and resolve them at the end of the day. You don't want to just be told what to do. You actually want to help fixing the problems at the end of the day.
That's great. Thanks, Jason. And Chris, I'm curious from your side. So you're our CTO. You have a long background as a CISO. What is a comprehensive security program? What does that approach mean to you?
Yeah, I think security's changed a lot. I think the three of us have been kind of in that space for a couple of decades now. And, think back 20 years ago, all of our data was inside of a data center, and firewalls and antivirus were really all you needed to protect things. And today the kind of digital landscape has changed significantly. We've got cloud solutions, we've got kind of these cloud or virtual data centers, Azure, AWS, GCP. Our data is on mobile devices. It is in people's homes. It's not just in our own facilities. How do we protect that information? And security has really always been about people, process, and technology. You need all three of those to be able to be successful in data protection, risk management. I think one of the latest breaches, CDK Global, a dealer management system for 15,000 dealerships across the world were impacted. Being able to be prepared for supplier failures and looking at other risks that involve digital assets, digital data, and other things in the environment. Comprehensive is really looking at all of that risk in totality for the organization.
Okay, that's great, Chris. Great insights from you and Jason both. I'm curious, Rich, from your side. Obviously you and Jason have worked a bit hand in hand. So I'm curious from your side, what led you to go down the path that you've gone down as far as how to run IT and security? What have been advantages you've seen to this approach? What are maybe disadvantages, things that are different than having folks in-house? Really just kind of what's your take on this thing from the other side?
Yeah, I think to both Chris and Jason's points around just the totality of the approach. It's absolutely critical today that cybersecurity affects everything that we do, right? From our suppliers, our customers, the digital interface between all of those is just absolutely critical. And so having all that covered is key for us from an operating perspective. And some of the things that Jason has brought to us is that piece of we've always gotten the reports of hey, here's where the risk may lie within your infrastructure from a pen test, but it's the implementation of the solution at the end of the day where we really have been able to draw upon the version 6 team and let them help us put in the final solution and continue to augment that solution as we go forward, as the risks change really every day.
And I'm curious too, again, because I know some of the history there. Has this allowed you to be a little more hands-off on IT? Are you not having to micromanage maybe as much as you had to? There's a story I'm thinking I'm not going to tell that probably comes to mind for you.
Yeah, Chris. No, that's a good point. And yeah, I think stepping back a little bit, right? PSG, right, is a classic middle market manufacturer, right? And we don't have really, we have zero IT individuals on staff, and so we have outsourced or contracted 100% of our IT. And I would say really, as I joined the organization was really far behind on the technology front. And therefore, we did have to start a journey and really rebuild the entire infrastructure. And Jason and the Inversion 6 team has been here really from the beginning to help us through that. And it has allowed us to really, step back. I think when I first got here, I was probably spending 75% of my time on IT related issues. And look, if the CFO is spending 75% of his time on IT, he's not spending it on everything else that he probably should be, right? And that was the experience here and what I was going through. And so, Jason was able to come in and help us really identify the partners that we had in place. We've gone through, those partner selections and really right-sized all the partners that we do work with as it relates to IT, and really have expanded the relationship with Inversion 6 throughout that, just as they've been able to add additional pillars to that support, right? And really has helped me step away. So I'd say today, I'm really, maybe 10% of my time is now on IT related issues, and really, Jason and the team does a great job of keeping me updated and getting me involved in the areas where I need to be involved, but also providing me what I'll call that advisory service and bringing those solutions to me, not just the original problem. Really thinking through, okay, here's the risk, here's the problem, what solution are we going to put in place to address it as we go forward.
No, that's great. Like that breakdown seems really good. 75% of CFO's time in IT seems counterproductive, right?
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
If 75% of his time on finance, I think people would raise an eyebrow. Maybe pivoting from there a little bit. So when we think about implementing a successful security program, getting the right partner, it can be tough. I'm kind of curious, Chris, from your side, what is somebody who knows the technology space really well, has been, dealt with a lot of different players. What do you think companies should be looking for in companies they partner with? What kind of personnel do you think matters? What kind of technology do you think matters? Kind of what should people look for and who they partner with?
Yeah, Chris, great question. And this is, has evolved over time, right? 10, 15, 20 years ago, the old adage of no one gets fired for hiring IBM, right? They sell everything, they have a lot of security. In this day and age, if you are running IBM everything, you're more likely to get fired. Security for quite a bit of time had become kind of best of breed. The CrowdStrikes, the SentinelOnes, the Palo Altos, the Proofpoints, they were, kind of best of breed solutions that have found their way to the top of the heap. Today, it's much easier to start a cybersecurity company. You can do it in the cloud, a handful of developers, a good idea, and a credit card where you can subscribe to AWS to build compute and storage and everything else. Well, today, there's about 23,000 different companies providing cybersecurity solutions. In this day and age, many of those, even the newer ones, don't necessarily need a track record of 10, 20, 30 years to be successful in IT security. They can hit the ground running, they can scale up quickly. Cloud has allowed them to do that. So the ecosystem and kind of the market itself is changing faster than it ever has. There are a lot of, I would say, kind of your typical customers that are still trying to acquire security technology like they did before, but their own environment and data ecosystem has changed. Things are in the cloud. How are you protecting it there? We can do almost anything on a mobile device today. Are you protecting those mobile devices much like you would laptops? So it isn't a matter of what technology solutions are there, but really where is your sensitive data? Getting to know our customers, how they operate, what's important to them, what is their special sauce to that generates revenue for them, and being able to align security solutions to protect those, support and enable availability, and the entire security ecosystem being more risk aligned. So this isn't just a technology issue anymore where we can come in and say here are 1 or 2 or 3 things that are going to fit, but really having our people who understand your business to be able to adequately align business along with the cyber risk that exists is critical to long-term success in protecting a company.
Okay. Jason, what about from your side? What do you think people should be looking for in a partner?
Chris brought up some really good points, and I'm probably going to elaborate maybe the last couple things he talked about, or maybe just slightly hit on. In the day, it's results, kind of with this. That's what, someone like Rich and we've been working for, wants at the end of the day. Great, like you can, go out and buy the best technology that you have out there, but if you don't have someone who can implement it and run it and maintain it, doesn't matter you bought, whatever the top technology, the Gartner upper right-hand corner, super, secure stuff. If it's not in place and not working, and actually, resolving and addressing risks that are out there, it's not any good. Most of these companies need a partner to kind of come in. And yeah, if you look under our hood, and we're happy to always show you guys, we are using a lot of those technologies that are out there that are market leading type technologies to help, kind of things with vulnerability management, patch management, endpoint protection, you name it, But a lot of cases, the people we're working with may not have the expertise to run those, or have limited, staff that's out there that's already probably running at 150% capacity, trying to learn new tools and technologies is tough. So bringing someone in like in version 6 to help run those and get the results, that you need and reduce the risks that are out there, I think is very key.
And Rich, how about for you? So you've had to select, as you said, you've relied on a lot of third parties. You've largely outsourced IT. So you've had to be pretty good about who are you choosing to bring to that party, us as well as others. What have you looked for when deciding who to bring into the fold?
Yeah, I think, well, several things. I think obviously, in version 6, we've had a relationship going back even to the previous company, right? And so it was a known partner for me just through that past experience. But as we evaluate partners, what we're looking for is one, who has that track record, to Jason's point, of having, results and being able to deliver those results. And so a lot of times we're relying on referrals from other companies, but then we're also looking for what are the solutions and how does the company or service provider partner, right? And that's the key for us is really, we are truly looking for a partner because, look, the company as having everything outsourced, we're relying on that service provider to bring that solution and to implement it and make sure it's done correctly. And therefore, we're relying on them, but at the same time, the company has ownership in that relationship as well, and that the company has to do their part in providing, the support and internal resources to make sure that the service provider can be successful, right? And so that's one of the things that's critical for us as well, is how well does that service provider partner and really, look for the company's best interest. In past experiences, some of the things, partners that we've kind of moved away from are, they were providing solutions that, quite frankly, it was easiest for them as the service provider, but not necessarily the best solution for the company. And therefore, that's one of the key things is we're really looking for somebody to bring the technology, and understand, right, we have a budget and we're going to, put forward that budget and work within version 6 and say, okay, here's our budget. What can we do within that budget and also solve the solution or get the solution that we need in place? Or do we need to think about, changing that budget for this particular solution, right? And that's the type of things that we're looking for is, just making sure that it truly is a true partnership where both parties are working together to get to a common goal.
I mean, the theme here clearly seems to be partnership and working together well. I like those comments about flexibility, right? Nobody likes having something just kind of shoved down their throat. This is the only way we can do it. But it's tough to be a little flexible. It's somewhat into that vein of flexibility and a little bit of how challenging the security role can be, right? Because Jason, I know you're filling that role in multiple environments, which can make your head spin at times, I'm sure. How do you stay on top of things, right? With new threats that are constantly coming out, new attacks, how do you make sure you've got the right advice and you're giving Rich what he needs and staying ahead of new threats?
Yeah. What I'll say here, Chris, is it's teamwork, kind of at the end of the day. Yes, I've got some things that I do to try to keep up, but the security world, to try to be on top of everything all the time, every day is near impossible, kind of like that. So the first thing I say is I leverage a lot of our resources that we have here to try to keep up as best as possible kind of out there. We've got within our CISO practice, obviously myself, Chris, we've got 4 others, that we have in there. It's not just a team of 1 or 2. We have a nice size, kind of team and experts from there in different fields, and they all keep up with different threats and technologies kind of, and the latest vulnerabilities that are out there, and we share between all of us. Kind of going back to, we have an entire security operations center, they're staffed 24/7, 365. A lot of some of their research that they do is around threat hunting and threat modeling and other things like that. And that information is not just compartmentalized, it's shared with the entire team that's out there. So we, some of our analysts will learn about certain things that are out there, share it with the larger group, and thus we can share it with our clients and partners that are out there, try to keep their environments as safe as possible and reduce those threats and risks for them also.
Okay, and I would guess probably in that same vein, probably Mr. Pruitt here as well. I know I reach out to our CTO all the time. And you stay a lot closer to technology than I ever have time for. Huge value in having kind of the collective team. I'm getting a question that's coming in, not exactly related to anything that we just spoke about, but the question here, it's cyber insurance, right? How does this approach that we're talking about with comprehensive security, how does this impact the ability to procure and maintain cyber insurance? And Jason, you might be a good one to start here. Rich, I'm going to guess as a CFO, you'll have a couple thoughts here too.
Sure. So my thoughts around cyber, doing this, our program in general, is going to address a lot of those same risks and threats that all the cyber insurance companies out there are asking about today. I kind of do the old joke, where, hey, you rewind the clock 3 or 4 years ago, all cyber insurance questionnaires were just a simple, do you have antivirus? Check yes or no. You check yes, you got cyber insurance. Like there's nothing more, Now today you get 20, 30, 100 question, a questionnaire to fill out for your cyber insurance. Primarily because of all the ransomware threats that have happened over the last several years. They've had to pay out a lot. They're being much more particular, and they're asking a lot more questions to ensure that you have a good cyber program in place to obtain cyber insurance today, because the threats are much greater, than they were 3 or 4 years ago also. Our program helps with that, kind of make sure that, hey, we've got those foundational things in place. we work with Rich to kind of say, hey, if we identified any gaps, make sure that before that cyber insurance comes up, to make sure those are in place, so we feel good and confident that we're going into those renewals, that we're going to get a renewal. Also, last piece I'll say there too, around like cyber, just like in general, for the insurance kind of piece. Again, our program will help, and you now have someone who can help you confidently fill out those questionnaires, because sometimes if you answer no on them, it's not the end of the world. You can talk about your other compensating controls. Sometimes people just feel like, if I can't definitively say yes, I'm not going to get this. Well, you can say no, but talk about the other things, and having someone who's part of your team to help you through that entire process and who's been through it with lots of other customers is very advantageous.
Rich, how about from your side? How has some of this change in IT and security? Has it made it easier to procure and maintain cyber insurance? I know probably the market's changed over that time too, as Jason alluded to.
Yeah, definitely. And, to Jason's point, I think he alluded to it right early on. The questionnaires were, 1 page and just a couple simple questions, right? And nowadays it's extremely comprehensive. And every year, I would say the bar gets raised in terms of, the criteria in which you've got to meet and really have that base level of cybersecurity in place in order to secure cybersecurity coverage. And like I said, every year that bar gets increased, and you need to make sure that you're working towards kind of the next level. And one of the things that I think we've done, and Jason has helped us with this as well, is we go through an annual assessment from an IT risk perspective that helps us get kind of a roadmap, if you will, in terms of what are the things we're going to work on and tackle for the next year. And really, try to emphasize certain areas that we believe will address and give us the biggest bang for our buck, so to speak, in terms of, the solution that we want to put in place and work on. And so I think it's that comprehensive approach that you have to have, and you really have to, be working towards, an end, not really an end solution, but, because I don't know that it ever ends, but kind of a directive and kind of a target that you want to achieve from, the projects and making sure you're addressing the risk that has been identified. And then, a year down the road, those risks may change, and you have to just keep addressing them as you go forward.
Okay, no, that's great. So great answers. I'm kind of looking at the time here. I'm realizing we're kind of getting towards the end of the discussion here. I'm looking to see if we have any other questions. I think probably we'll wind down from here. I want to thank again Chris and Rich and Jason for making the time today. Tell the story a little bit here. Hopefully this is giving everybody a little bit more perspective on this idea of comprehensive security that we've talked about today, how that helps somebody outside of IT to be a little more productive, to focus on other areas that are going to grow the business, to be stronger on security, bring in the right people, the right technology, solve these problems, and deal with these growing third-party requirements, whether it's cyber insurance, whether it's regulations, but not have them distract from really the goal that every business has, which is probably something other than IT and security. So thank you again, everybody, for joining the panel. If you had a question that maybe I missed here, we will make sure to go through these as a follow-up. We'll follow up with everybody on those afterwards. As mentioned, there will be a survey after the webinar. Take a minute or two, tell us if this has been helpful. Tell us if there's other topics you'd really like to see in the future. And thank you again for joining us.